Alright guys, we're back yet again, and kind of just wanted to touch on a question that I've been asked a few times throughout the videos, and I've tried to answer everybody, but I figure I'd just do a video about it, and do like the long explanation, because it's kind of hard to keep answering the same question, typing the same long answer every single time. And I figured I'll do a little bit of inking for you guys while we're at it. Now, I'm going to reposition the camera slightly because this is actually my third attempt at this video, because I always find a way of blocking part of the image while I'm drawing. I normally draw with this table up, and until I get a better tripod where I can capture everything and just figure out a better solution to filming this, I'm just going to have to make do. But, so getting on to the topic, the question is, do I need guidelines for drawing comics? And we'll actually widen that question up slightly to, I'm trying not to get my hat covering the image, but I'm actually having a hard time seeing the, my pencils here, from the angle that I'm at. And that has mostly to do with my inadequate lighting in this room at the moment. But let's get on to the topic. Do I need guidelines? Do I need certain paper for comics? At all? Because it's I talk about, this paper, that paper. So the answer is yes and no, really. So let's talk about the yes answer first, because that is the shorter one to talk about. And if you do need to use them, that means you're being serialized. So what that means is you're being a part of a weekly or monthly publication, like a standard comic book, something from Marvel, something from DC, or if you're overseas, you have your other publishers. So at that point, yeah, you need guidelines and you need standardized paper, because everything that they work on needs to be the same. So you could be part of a series, like an anthology book, which many different artists are working on many different stories inside of one book. And obviously, for the sake of consistency, that book needs to be all printed the same way, It can't just be, some pages it's full, some pages it's, half the size of the page. Just wouldn't work that way. So, yeah, there's some type of standardization that's got to go on there when working in that type of environment. Now, where the answer is no, well, then you fall into pretty much everyone that's watching my videos, which is you're at-home artist, and you're either just starting out on comics, just really getting into working on them, and you don't know where to start with your supplies and everything like that, and you're seeing, oh man, I just got this book of comic paper from Eon or from Blue Line. I don't know what these guidelines are. That's how most people end up on my channel. And honestly, if you fall into that, no, you don't need to use guidelines. You don't need to use certain paper even. If you're self-publishing or you're just doing stuff on your own, or you have an independent publisher that's not doing serialized publication, you can do whatever size paper that you want. And as long as each page is pretty consistent with as far as your margins go, like your bleed line, your trim line, that's all you need. I mean, and honestly, if you set it out to where the edge of your page is your margin, that's perfectly fine. Draw to the edge of the page every single time. A good example of someone that does comics that doesn't use anything special would be Mark Crilly. He uses, I think, 11 by 14 Strathmore 300 paper. He just uses the regular yellow pad stuff and draws on it, and that's what gets scanned, and that's what gets printed. So you can use whatever paper you want. And you don't need to use guidelines. The guidelines are just there to make everyone's life a lot easier when it comes down to doing your serialized publications, your regular comic books that come out from Image or DC, Vertigo, whoever it may be. So, I mean, that's it, you know. So, use whatever you want to use, especially if you're just someone at home. Use whatever you want. I prefer to use standardized stuff because standardized paper that's meant for comics tends to be a little bit better than using, you know, regular multimedia paper. But what works for me doesn't always work for you. You know, the supplies that I want to use or what I think work best for me, they may not be your ideal supplies. I can't use fine liners at all. I am not happy with the line they give me. When I put lines down, I don't know. They just do not work for me. I would much rather nib ink all day long or brush ink all day long than work with fine liners. It's just not my tool. Other people do amazing work with fine liners and can't use a nib. So, you know, the paper I use has to be able to hold up to a nib. I think the paper I'm using right now is Strathmore 500 semi-smooth. Don't know how I feel about the paper. I haven't used semi-smooth paper in a while, and it's more toothy than I remember, to be honest with you. That or I've been spoiled by Eon's paper because their stuff is so friggin' smooth that, you know, your nibs just glide on it. But anyway, you know, 500 series paper is pretty expensive, and if you're not quite sure what tools or stuff even are work best for you, don't go out spending hundreds of dollars on paper and pens and stuff just to find out that they don't work for you. You know, practice first. You know, spend more time on practicing your art than investing in tools. Other than that, I'm thinking it might be nice to do one of these inking videos, you know, real-time inking videos once in a while, maybe in the format of an FAQ. So if you guys would like to see me ink real time and answer some questions, let me know and we'll get something going on for the questions for the FAQ, and, you know, I can set up one day and start inking and answer some of your guys' questions, and we'll go about it that route. It might be a nice video to do for a change. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for today's video. This is actually the second video today. Go check out the other one that's going to be up either before or after this one, because it's actually being filmed the same day, which is my first look at the Eon manga paper. That's something I was really excited about, so go check out that video, guys. Anyway, as always, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys another day.